Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting hands-on, really diving into something I get asked about a lot, how to create that amazing volcanic lava wall effect. You know, the look, right? That eruption effect, like cracked plaster with fire underneath. Well, if you've wondered, how exactly do they do that? Ooh, you're in the right place. I'm going to walk you through the whole thing myself, step by step, like you're right here with me. So let's get started. Okay, first things first, preparation. Like any good art project, you need a solid foundation. We start with a wall that's, perfectly smooth, well spackled, your canvas, basically. Once that's set, I always begin by applying a liquid, deep penetrating primer. The whole surface gets it. This stuff really soaks in, strengthens the wall, gets it ready. You got to let that dry. I give it about 2 to 4 hours. Patience here is key, really. Don't rush it. After that first primer is totally dry, I move on to a quartz sand primer paint. This is different. It actually has like a very fine quartz grit mixed in. What that does is create a bit of texture, a tooth they call it. It gives fantastic adhesion for the Venetian plaster we're going to use later.
And that preparation, it's not just about making things stick, is it really goes deeper than that. That deep primer helps unify the wall itself, preventing tiny movements later that could cause cracks in your beautiful finish. It's about making sure that lava effect lasts.
Exactly, building right from the start. So once that quartz primer's dry, you should feel that slight grit. We get to the fun part, the color. I measure out the acrylic Venetian plaster I need. For this look, I actually used a red primer paint first, and then I tinted the Venetian plaster itself red too. Gives it that real magma glow from within. Venetian plaster, if you haven't used it, it's amazing stuff. You can get these thin, beautiful layers, build up depth, polish it, perfect for this. So I apply 2 layers of this red plaster across the whole surface. Now, sometimes you might do 3 for like maximum depth, but for this specific effect, I find 2 red, then 1 black on top works great. Gives that dramatic contrast. And super important, drying time between coats. Usually 2 to 3 hours, maybe more, depending on your workshop. Make sure it's fully dry. Once that first red layer was dry, I went ahead with the second red layer. Quick tip here, always read the instructions on your materials. Seriously, they tell you exactly what you need to know. They're your best guide. For this second red layer, I don't cover everything evenly. I apply it more locally in specific spots.
This starts building up those veins, those areas that will look like lava breaking through. And look, tool-wise, I'm just using a basic painter spatula. Nothing fancy. It just goes to show you can absolutely do this kind of work yourself with standard tools. You don't need expensive gear.
That's a great point about the tools. But for someone new to plaster, is consistency tricky? Getting that local application right without it looking, too blobby. Simple tools are great, but there's still that skill in using them, right?
There's a feel to it. The plaster consistency is key. Not too thick, not too thin. Practice on a board first if you're unsure. But yeah, once you get that feel. Okay, so red layers are down, providing that base glow. Now we create the texture, the cracked earth. I start applying the plaster with multi-directional movements, kind of random, organic strokes with the spatula. Then I grab a wide brush. And I use this brush quite deliberately. I'm essentially drawing wide veins into the plaster. The idea is get that look of magma pushing through, fire breaking out. I'm building up volume here with the brush, real thickness, because later I'm going to sand these raised areas down, and that's what reveals the red underneath. I picked a wide brush specifically for that thicker, bolder vein look. If I wanted finer cracks, I might use a trowel edge or something smaller. But be careful with thickness. I aim for maybe 2 to 3 millimeters max on these raised bits. Any thicker, and trust me, sanding becomes a nightmare later on. Way too much work. So I do this across the whole wall, and at this stage it looks pretty scarred, kind of rough. You got to trust the process. It's going to look amazing. Feel free to look online for inspiration, lava flow pictures, that sort of thing. And don't be afraid to experiment. If I accidentally put on too much somewhere, no big deal. Just smooth it down a bit with a spatula. It's all adjustable.
That foresight is really interesting. Building up texture, knowing you'll remove part of it later. It's sculpting, really. Have you seen other things used besides brushes? Like to get different crack styles? Maybe something for a really jagged look?
Yeah, definitely. You could use like a really stiff brush, almost knackered, or even drag some rough fabric through it for sharper edges. Lots you can try. But for this, the wide brush worked well. Okay, so let those textured red layers dry completely. Now for the drama, the black layer. This is what makes the red fire pop. Again, measure out what you need. Tint the Venetian plaster with black pigment this time, nice and dark. And I apply this black layer pretty thin, actually, over the entire surface, covering everything up for a moment. But here's the key technique. Where those raised red veins are from the brushwork, I take my spatula and I gently scrape the black plaster off those high spots. It's a light touch. You're not digging in, just removing the thin black layer from the peaks. This immediately starts to reveal the red underneath, highlighting the texture. Those veins just jump out. It looks incredible as you do it. You see the cracked earth forming right there. Once this black layer dries, and it might take a bit longer, say 6 hours, cause of the texture underneath that cracked effect will be locked in and really visible. I just repeat this scraping process methodically across the whole wall.
That contrast is so effective. Using the black not just as a color, but as something to be removed to reveal the art beneath, it really drives home that idea of subtraction being just as important as addition in creating the final piece. It's quite clever.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how it works. Okay, next stage. Requires some patience and a bit of elbow grease, drying and sanding. Like I said, that third layer, the black one with all the texture, needs to dry thoroughly. Give it a good 6 hours. Don't rush this slide. Once it's bone dry, start revealing the veins properly. For this, I use a sanding machine with a #400 grit round sandpaper disc. And always connect a vacuum cleaner. Seriously, the dust is immense otherwise. Learn from my messy mistakes. So I carefully sanded just the high points, the raised bits, gently taking off that black layer to expose the red underneath fully. This is what gives you that stunning cracked earth, lava glowing from within effect. Now, warning time. Big warning. Sanding this takes care. I use #400 grit. It takes patience, yes. But if you think, oh, I'll speed this up with #180 grit, don't do it. You will leave deep scratches, horrible scratches. And then you'll have to sand more with finer grits. #240, #320, then #400 just to fix the damage. Way more work. Rough sandpaper can literally erase your beautiful texture. You need a delicate touch here. It's crucial.
Absolutely critical point on the grit. That temptation to go faster can really backfire. Are there subtle clues you're being too aggressive? Even with the 400, like maybe the dust changes color too quickly or something? It's a fine line between revealing and ruining.
That's a good question. Yeah, if you suddenly see a really bright patch of red appear instead of a gradual reveal, you're probably pushing too hard or tilting the sander. Ease off. Slow and steady wins this race. Okay, so after that careful sanding, the veins look awesome. Now, we polish. I switch to an even finer grit, #1000 grit sandpaper disc. And listen, I don't polish this by hand with a spatula. Forget it. It takes forever. It's exhausting. You can easily scratch it or leave marks from the spatula edge. Trying to polish dry plaster by hand is just asking for trouble. You might even tear bits off. So I use my angle grinder again, but this time with the polishing disc. Mechanical polishing is the way to go here. It's fast, efficient, gives a beautiful, consistent sheen. The surface just comes alive. It gets this amazing luster. And look, remember those areas where I used the brush and didn't smooth them? The polish highlights those marks beautifully now. See that texture? Adds so much character, right?
That switch to mechanical polishing makes perfect sense. It's about using the right tool for the job, especially on a larger scale. It's not just faster, it achieves a level of consistent finish that would be incredibly hard to replicate manually, really enhancing the final look.
Totally agree. Work smarter, not harder. Yeah. Okay, final step. Waxing. This protects everything and gives it that final, beautiful sheen. I use a wax specifically made for Venetian plaster. It seals the surface, adds protection, and deepens the colors. I apply a thin layer with a spatula, let it dry. And how long does wax need to dry? You guessed it. Read the instructions on your specific wax. They all vary. Test it if you need to. Once it's dry, it usually feels a bit tacky, but not wet. I polish the wax. For this, I use a sheepskin polishing bonnet on my angle grinder. Super important. Make sure your grinder has speed control for this. You don't want high speed. I gently polish, working the wax into the surface. And that's it. You get this gorgeous, deep, glowing finish. The lava looks alive.
And that wax isn't just cosmetic, is it? It's a crucial protective layer for such an intricate, textured finish. It really emphasizes the importance, again, of following the manufacturer's guidance for these specialized products to ensure the whole effect lasts and looks great for years.
So there you have it. That's the journey from smooth wall to this volcanic lava wall effect. Pretty involved, but hopefully seeing it step by step makes it feel achievable. I really hope this deep dive gave you a clear picture of the whole process.
It's really amazing how something that looks so complex and artistic can be broken down like this, using fairly standard tools but applying them with technique and patience. It just shows you can transform a plain surface into something really stunning. Makes you appreciate the power of doing things by hand, doesn't it?
It really does. So if you found this helpful, if you're feeling inspired, definitely give this video a like. And please subscribe to the Real Decor English channel for more deep dives like this one. Until next time, take care and happy creating.